All right, welcome to reverse data bending, I guess. So if you aren't familiar with data bending, it is a method people use for manipulating images in generally kind of glitchy ways by taking an image file, importing it as raw data into an audio editor, applying audio effects to it, and then turning it back into an image, essentially. You can look at my profile picture as a little example of this. I made that quite a while ago. I don't even remember what it is. I think it might be a picture of me sitting on my family's couch, but I'm not sure. But it's a neat process, and there are videos that go much more in depth into it. I'll just very quickly show the process here so you can kind of have an idea of the process that I'm reversing in this video. So I'll just pull in an image, say a wall that's like being sandblasted or something. I'm not sure. But I really like the texture of it, so I took a bunch of pictures of it. So I'll export it as a TIFF. I would not use this as a tutorial for how to do this because I'm just gonna go through this really quickly. I might put some links in the description of more detailed tutorials for this process, but I want to change this to 48K because that's what I tend to use. I don't think it particularly matters here, but that's what I use. So you can, this is what this image sounds like. So you don't want to touch the beginning, or, well, you don't want to touch the header. Generally that's at the beginning. I don't know if it's this is just a TIFF file thing or what, but I don't really see anything that looks like a header at the beginning of this. However, at the end there is this, which this is generally what a header tends to look like. So basically I avoid touching the beginning or end of the file. But you can just apply some effects. Apply an echo, phaser, reverb, reverse, something like that. And then export it as a raw file. Oh, I should have changed the name. Not that it particularly matters here, but processed. And then I will change this back to a TIFF just by changing the extension. That's not file conversion. I'm just changing the extension. And then pull it back into here. And there's the processed file. So you can, this isn't a great image to use for this, honestly, because the image itself is kind of noisy and vague. But if you do this with like a picture of a face or something like that, the way it changes the image will be a lot more evident. There's a great video that shows the effect. Someone went through and showed what every single Audacity effect, the effect that has on an image. But anyway, that is the process of data bending. You can use bitmap files as well. I just, for whatever reason, TIFF files seemed to work better for me. So that's cool. But I wanted to, well, this started out by me wanting to hear JPEG compression. I wanted to hear what effect JPEG compression would have on an audio file. And so over the past couple days, I've been playing around with this and just kind of more recently realized that, like, oh yeah, I can just do like image processing as well. I can mess with the image and apply visual effects and stuff like that as well. So my focus here is mostly going to be in the realm of compression because that's kind of what I've been focusing on. But you can just do the same stuff with image effects, and I'll play around with that a little bit at the end as well, I think. But I have come up with two techniques for doing this. I'm not sure if they're identical. I don't know if you would get the exact same result. I haven't done an A/B test with it or anything. But the first method, I'll have my TIFF file to start again, and I will import that as raw data. And then I'm going to cut out the center of this and leave the start and end and cut out the middle. Now, part of this is to preserve the header. Additionally, I want to make sure that this remains the same length. I've heard that with doing this with TIFF files, you can change the file size and it'll still work. I haven't found that to work. I might just be missing something or doing something wrong. I don't know, but doing it this way, I can just make sure, okay, whether the header's at the beginning or end, it's preserved, and the file length is going to stay the same. I can just put whatever I want on the inside. So I have this audio file here, which I've prepared for this with just kind of like a test file. So I have C1, C2, C3, C4, and then this noisy, complex synth, and then the sound of JPEG compression vocals, just to kind of give a test of a bunch of different kinds of sounds all in one thing. So I will now export this as a raw file. I will export it as mono here. The second method I have works to export it in stereo. You may still be able to do that with this method. I haven't played around with it enough. My thought is that maybe if you import the TIFF file as stereo, it will work. I'm not sure. I haven't tested it. It doesn't matter too much to me, honestly. So say with audio, not raw, export that. Now I'm going to change this to a TIFF file. Pull it in here. And now you can see how this corresponds with how we changed it in Audacity. There's a little bit at the top and bottom of the original image. There's this, which my guess is that it is essentially the noise floor. I'm not sure about that, but you know, it's silent in these gaps. So I don't know where this noise would be coming from, and that's my best guess. And then in the middle, we have the audio file. And you can kind of see in the audio file like how it looks like the audio file. Like we have the sine waves that are increasing in frequency, this noisy complex synthesizer, and then this kind of different choppy texture of me talking. So now I am going to compress it as a JPEG. And if you check this show preview in image window thing, you can zoom in here and see how it's compressing it as you play around with this. You can just play around with it as you see fit. You can get some pretty extreme compression here, like that. I'm not even really sure what that would result in. Might do something like this. Look at that. Sure, looks like classic crunchy JPEG compression. You also have some other options here: subsampling, DCT method. I don't know what these are. I don't know. Export as CMYK. Could try it. I don't know what it does. There are like an overwhelming amount of knobs that you can turn in this whole process. So, you know, just play around with it, I guess. It's like you just kind of have to do it and then keep tweaking away and find what you like. Okay, so that is exported. Now I will open the JPEG and I will export this as a TIFF. You can also change the compression here. I haven't played around with that at all. I'm not really sure what that would result in. Again, just a lot of knobs you can turn. So it's kind of overwhelming, but it's just, you know, a lot of room for exploration, which I really like. So now that we have that, can come back into Audacity, import raw data, and where is it? With audio comp.tiff. Make sure that's all matching. And you want to kind of your first check as to whether this process worked correctly or not is this the same length? It is, so that's good. And are features in this file, do they correspond with the audio file? And they do. So looks like it worked correctly. Can give it a listen. So this is our noise floor kind of thing, whatever this noisy texture is. That's that. And now the audio file. pretty noisy, but you can hear that the synth is there.
Testing the sound of JPEG compression.
So that's the sound of JPEG compression. It's mostly just distortion. It's not like MP3 compression where, when you start like doing extreme compression to stuff, you get these glittery artifacts and that kind of thing, which admittedly is kind of what I was hoping for from this, but it's distortion. It's a strange way to distort something, which I think it has merit in and of itself. I think the way it distorts the vocals in particular sound like radio distortion. Like when you're trying to connect to like a distant radio station, or you're going under a bridge or something like that. The kind of distortion you get on the radio. Okay, so that is the first method. Second method is bring the audio into Audacity. You export it as a raw file, and here you can export it as stereo. Did that export? Yes, okay. And then you want to change the extension to .data. I imagine there probably is a way to import .raw files into GIMP. When you try it, it will say it can't do this, but there's like other software you can install to make it work. I installed some. It now, like if I try putting a raw file in it, it opens up that software, but it seems like that software doesn't know what to do with it either. So I don't know. I'm sure there's some way of doing it, but changing the file extension is easy enough. So get that, drag that into GIMP. And now you have some options as to how you want to import it. I love the way this one looks. It doesn't seem to work very well. It seems like it prefers 8-bit things. 8-bit methods of, 8-bit pixel formats, I guess. This is the one that I've used the most, RGB 8-bit. But, it's just another thing you can play around with. That one's really pretty. But I'll just do this one for now. You can mess around with the width and height. I think when you first open this up, it'll default to like 350 by 350 or something. And if you just go with that, it's just going to cut off a little chunk of the audio. So the method I've found for kind of like fine tuning this to be what it should be is to put in a high value, so like 2000, and then the other one will sort of balance out basically. So you can kind of just play around with it. I don't know that once you get the whole thing in, I don't know if it really matters if you have like the exact, I don't know if these need to be balanced basically. So I can just do this one. We'll try that. 2000 by 544, but you can just play around with that if you want. I don't think it really has an effect though. So now I will export this as a JPEG. This would be audio compressed. I don't know. I always have trouble coming up with names for things like that. Do that, sure. And then again, you can just play around with this to find whatever level of detail you want. Some pretty extreme compression. You do something like this. That's some pretty heavy compression. Pretty extreme. I think that should be good. I'll export that and then import. Import it. Good. I just like to zoom in to make sure I'm on the right one, because I have like accidentally exported from the wrong image before. So then export this as a raw file. Now, interestingly, even though I wasn't able to import it as a .raw, you can export it as a .raw. So we'll do that. Let me just change this to 1. Export. I also don't know about the planar configuration. I haven't played around with that at all. And now I will import raw data, audio compressed 1.raw. Now you want to make sure if you exported it as stereo that you set it to stereo here. Import. Again, you want the file length to be the same. You want things to correspond. Looks like they do. So it looks like it worked correctly.
Testing the sound of JPEG compression.
Pretty good distortion. Pretty gnarly. Okay, so now the other thing you can do here, obviously, even though the compression was, my focus, you can just apply audio effects, or not. I keep calling them audio effects, image effects, visual effects, whatever. I'll do an edge detect here, as that tends to be my favorite method of manipulating images. Ooh, look at that. I bet that's gonna sound cool. I bet that's gonna sound cool. Do that, and then I'll just directly export this as raw from here, because I'm not gonna bother with compression at this point. Edge detect dot raw. There we go. And then same thing here, just import raw data. And there we go. Whoa, this looks messed up. Hear it. Oh. some extreme DC offset, but the distortion on those signs sounded pretty great. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Let me do what? What's wavelet decompose? I don't know. I don't know. Oh, I'll do, yeah, one of these different edge detect methods. What is the one? Edge? Oh, yes, here we go. This is it. I mean, that's a bit much. Yeah, sure. Give that a shot. And maybe mess around with the colors a bit too. Ooh. Oh, look at that. That's gonna sound cool. Gonna sound wild. I have no idea. Different edge detect. That sounded pretty great. Oh, there we go. So, yeah, just an infinite amount of stuff to play around with and explore. You know, I have barely dipped my toe into it. I've just really figured out how to do it. There's a lot of ground to explore. So I hope you explore it. I hope you try it out and let me know what cool things you find and do with it. I think it's pretty neat. Yeah, thanks for watching.